Hey guys, it's Matt. I just saw something on YouTube, an old video that just like put me over the edge, but it relates to this theme, so I have to present the theme first. In your opinion, does the entire reality, the presentation of everything that comes through the screen, does it want to be taken seriously? I'll wait. Of course, I think everybody that's watching, well, people that would be stumbling upon this would be like, what are you even talking about? But anybody that's watching would agree that it very desperately wants to be taken seriously, whether it be its constant cooked up fear, anxiety, stress, and worry, stay safe, um, war, rumors of war, racial strife, rioting, bang events. Of course, its whole presentation is desperately trying for you to get it to take it seriously. And each minion working in its little bucket is trying to get itself taken seriously. The CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell is desperately trying to get that group for you to take them seriously, every minion on its own. What Mark Zuckerberg does, and I know every once in a while, per maybe for whatever reason, they have to insert little clown events like the what was it, the grilling of meats, things like that. And we'll talk about that later. But overall, it wants to be taken seriously. Of course, I know there are inflated tires and things like that from time to time. We'll talk about why that stuff and the grilling of meats that has to be, and Sweet Baby Ray's, and he has to mention Zuck the Borg has to mention stuff like that. But overall, we would agree it wants to be taken seriously. So based on that, how should we deal with it? Should we take it seriously, or should we see it as an absolute joke? Well, it's obvious. It wants this, so you can give it what it wants, or you can do the opposite of what it wants. And there's just one little thing, I'm staring at the freeze frame of it now, put me over the top in terms of why I wanted to make this presentation. So let me just get into what the small little straw that eventually broke the back of the camel was. And it's not a big deal, so I'll be very, very quick. But I was researching David Byrne, I think his name is, the lead singer of the Talking Heads, and looking for connections in his videos or his presentations, because I get the sense he's like Thomas Dolby. He is a little bit more connected, and there's themes that come through his music. I mean, once in a lifetime, let the water hold me up. It's down, actually. Let the water hold me down. There's a truth drop just in that one music video by itself. So I'm looking for common themes. Again, why am I doing this? Based on the presentation here, a waste of time. Based on prior presentations from me, a waste of time. But off to the right, the recommended is Gary Newman, Cars. Now, I guess if you're under 40, you might be aware of this song, but you have to be pretty old to remember it. Late 70s. I had it on a K-Tel album. They didn't even have mixed tapes back then. You'd buy an album that was a mix album. This Gary Newman, Cars. Many of you have heard it. Here in my cars, I go lock on my doors, and I can. It's terrible. I mean, it's catchy, whatever. It's not a great song. Only way there and cars, do 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 do. That song. So I'm like, oh, crap. Look at this, Gary Newman. I'm gonna click on it. Oh yeah, I remember this video before. I think it was before we got MTV. I saw this video. They play videos on a certain show on Saturday, and I'm watching it. In the first, 20 seconds or so, he steps inside of a giant glowing pyramid, and they illuminate the capstone more later when the drummer gets in, but there's the capstones illuminated, and I'm just at this point, I'm just for fun going, oh wow, I remember this song. And the first 20 seconds, here we go again. Hear it, and anybody trying to yell at me would be right. Matt, did you expect something else? I hear you. But in this case, it wasn't expected for some reason. In this case, my mindset wasn't like conspiracy research or the next video. I was just kind of watching, and I went, oh, here we go again. I agree with you. We shouldn't expect anything else at this point. If I go back and watch an old Sigmund the Sea Monster, something's probably going to pop up in Sigmund the Sea Monster. HR, puffin stuff, da 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 da. It's probably there. It's everywhere. It's definitely in Land of the Lost. Holy crap. There are some high-level presentations with the, high-level concepts in Land of the Lost. Portals and, evolved slee stacks that come from the past. They were more evolved in the past. They're devolving. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. But the Gary Newman thing, it just kind of broke me. And I went, this reality doesn't deserve to be taken seriously anymore. I'm not going to do it. If you want to take it seriously, go ahead. I'm going to make fun of it more than I do. I'm going to use comedy as much as I can. I'm not going to take it seriously anymore. And what I mean, and you know what I mean, in this truth community, what are still most people doing? I think they're doing exactly what it wants. They're looking at connections like I started to do with the David Byrne videos. And they're looking at symbolism, and they're looking at esoteric meanings, and they're looking at this and this. It's all so, I think even if you are exposing it at that level, I think it's almost like if you're taking it seriously, then it's just fine. It's fine with what you're doing or what you're pursuing. And it just gets down to it really gets down to the My Cousin Vinny 2 Youts. It's very simple. You have a choice in front of you. There are 2 Youts. A what? Did you say a Yout? I'm sorry, youths. There are 2 yous. It's this simple. You can go towards one or you can go towards the other. You can go towards the one that society wants to say is you, with your real name given on your birth certificate, with your foot sole print, and your straw man, and your legal fiction. And you can move towards that Yout, what society wants you to be, the standards of what society says is successful, how you should act, what you should think is important, how you identify. Of course, that Yout is just, all it does is get closer and closer to this material plane. All it does is cut its own spiritual ties, potentially horcruxes itself off. We've been over this. The other Yout you can choose is the authentic Yout, or you. Relates back to the Bagger Vance. Talk about that truth drop again. One true authentic swing. Everybody, Bagger Vance says to Matt Damon playing himself, everybody inside him has one authentic swing. It's trying to get out. If we can just get out of the way of it. Bagger Vance is not about golf. It's about life. Incredible movie. And there's the authentic Yout that realizes it's much more than this, where you turn on Gary Newman, he steps into a pyramid. And the authentic Yout has a spiritual sense about it, has a certain connection that this is just one tiny, tiny part of a much greater whole. And it's very simple. It's very simple. The entire reality through its culture and society is geared from A to Z, soup to nuts. It's geared so you identify with the wrong Yout. It's pretty much that simple. And once you see what it's trying to do, then the only alternative, the only sane thing to do is to try to reject everything society wants you to identify with, even your own straw man and your legal fiction name and in all caps, etc. Try to cut ties with that and develop the authentic or understand the authentic self as much as possible. It's pretty much that simple. And for me, one of the ways to do it is to, or maybe one of the only ways to do it, is to see that the whole way the reality in society is structured is an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke that doesn't deserve to be taken seriously. See, if you're what is most of the truth community doing, or those that make conspiracy videos? They're still looking at everything with the utmost seriousness. They're still saying, "Oh, look at this meeting between Boris Johnson, and oh, look at that secret symbol and the handshake and the this and that," and it's just it's. I think if you're at that level and you're analyzing, at least the people that are analyzing that at that level are not drifters. They're not just going through life thinking everything is just normal in the world and it's the best a modern society can do. Those people at least see that something is very wrong and rotten in the state of Denmark. But I think those, or whatever creature, whatever it is, will never figure out the police lineup that stands behind the screen, is just fine with people at that level, because you're still breathing life into it. You're still taking it seriously and analyzing it and trying to make connections, basically like I was doing this morning. I'll fall back into it. My whole thing is to get students from 9th grade through 12th grade to finally see that once you go through these exercises over and over again, and you see over and over and over again that nothing adds up and nothing could possibly pull this off, and nothing is very real in terms of what authority says it is. And once you do this enough, you kind of say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I've seen enough. I've had enough. But, you have to choose the right You't. And I think as long as you're taking it in the truth community, taking everything so seriously and trying to put connections together and find out what this Illuminati symbolism really means, I think they're just fine. I think they'll take that. I think that because you're giving life to the reality, you're giving stock to it, you're giving credibility and credence to it by analyzing it with such seriousness and such importance. And I'm just not doing it anymore. I mean, it's just, I will always, as soon as possible, try to put the spin on it that this is an absolute joke. I mean, again, let's hope Gary Newman in Cars steps into the pyramid. How much of this bull crap do we have to see over and over again? And this one looks like, if we always go back and forth, I go back and forth with people, how much does this flow through the reality itself versus how much is planted and coordinated by secret societies? This one actually seems more planted and coordinated, if you can believe I'm saying that. It doesn't say anything's planted. It's all just flows out. No, this one does, because it just, I don't know. It just seems they do the pyramid, then the illuminated capstone, but then the keyboards, they play with the cameras. The keyboard makes the square, and it just seems like this one is more directly from the creepy piano player in Under the Silver Lake that writes everything. I mean, it's so obvious well, I'll just speak for myself, not for you guys at this point, that these one-hit wonders, I mean, none of them wrote any of this stuff. Just complete puppets, used puppets, all written by the creepy piano player in Under the Silver Lake, Gary Newman. I don't know. Someone will be like, we'll pull out this old stuff about how he's a great writer, and there are exceptions, but these one-hit wonders, you gave me promises, promises. All this stuff that came through the 80s, 90s, these one-hit, Kajagoogoo. Just this stuff's coming to mind. I don't listen to this shit. Sha-da-sha, hush-hush, ah-do-ah. They didn't write that shit. It just came from the creepy piano player from Under the Silver Lake. There are exceptions. Thomas Dolby seems creepy in terms of his connections, and I haven't researched him at length, but mostly from how he got involved in those real symbolism, esoteric, occult meaning CDs that were introduced in the very early 90s called The Gate to the Mind's Eye. And Czar, this isn't working out, sweetie. Gate to the Mind's Eye. And I'm going to go through that sometime on Free Voice. It's just riddled. Matt, you're going to go back to the symbolism? I gotta keep, I cater to the 9th through 12th graders that have to reach a breaking point. So they see, wait, I've seen this so many times, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to walk away. Exactly. But I'm here, the high school teacher keeps coming back to class. he doesn't come into the next, after his first year, and say, I'm not teaching this again. I taught this shit. No, it's a new class. They need help. If you're ready to graduate, I don't want to lose you, but graduate. This is my role. I'm not well read enough to break down the highest level of esoteric occult, this stuff that Levette will dive into, which he has a zip drive of 10,000 occult works or something. I mean, I don't read. I can read, but I don't do that. It's just not what, people will send me something they've written up about their take on reality, and I can't even understand it. I'm not dyslexic. I'm not Forrest Gump, but it just doesn't, I need it at a very, I've told Steffers, who I said, I just need it at a very basic level. What I do is I observe. I can take, maybe this is why I can just throw out a movie line here real quick, or remember how this worked in this presentation from the screen, and kind of put everything together. I just observe the whole and how all the pieces work together through its presentation to get a human being to do something, to make certain choices, to root to it, to attach to it, to lose an idea of who they are, lose the idea or the picture of who they are, or what they should be authentically. Bagger Vance, it's not about golf; it's about life. I said that when I initially broke it down, just based on what was being said, the role Bagger played as a guide towards Captain Juna, Matt Damon playing himself, basically. And he actually played a few degrees away from himself in that one, just like he did in Good Will Hunting, which is very impressive. Usually he plays exactly himself, like he did in The Martian. That was just Matt Damon. There was no acting. It just be Matt Damon and everything will be cool. So, and then Howdy McCoskey came out and said, this is the Bhagavad Gita. I didn't even know. Apparently, Arjuna being taught by Krishna, I guess. Arjuna. I don't know the Bhagavad Gita. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. But I'm like, oh yeah, that Howdy says that's why it's called Captain. He's called Captain Juna. Matt Damon playing himself. I had no idea, but you can get a sense that this is huge truth drop. And what's related to what is being talked about here today is something about Bagger Vance I've never even talked about before. The one true authentic swing. Bagger talks to Hardy. They're walking the course at night. A great caddy walks the course off and remembers the distances and yard markers and distances to sand traps and all that. And little Hardy and Bagger Vance says, "Do you think Captain Juna has a chance, Bagger?" And Will Smith, as Bagger Vance, says, if he can remember his one true authentic swing. And Hardy's like, authentic? It's like, yeah, if he can, everybody has a natural swing that wants to get out, that's trying to get out. And he says, we just have to get out of the way of it. We have to stop doubting ourselves. He says, with all the wouldas and couldas and shouldas, and remembering all the bad shots, and remembering I was told to keep my elbow in and all that technical crap. He's just saying, no, if his authentic swing, his natural self comes out, he can win. That's a truth drop in Bagger Vance, something it's just littered with truth drop. I've never talked about that one before, but it seems absolutely relevant here, because you have, the two Youts. Are you going to pick can you identify with your one true authentic swing, one true authentic self? And, will you go towards that You't, or will you go towards exactly what society wants you to be? And, does the senior partner in the law firm on their deathbed, do they get a sense a second or two or 10 minutes before the death? Do they get a sense that this is, I have the two beach homes, and I have the two Mercedes S-classes, and I have the 5.5 million in the bank, and I have the status, and I was written up here and written up there. Do they get a sense that this was just not what they're supposed to be doing here? Do you think they get a sense going into their death? It's the same scenario that I talked about No, it wasn't in the book. I guess it was just a video, or a video that I wrote out about a year or two ago, about if you're out on its field and you're thinking that this is just what life is, you're playing by its rules and dealing with its referees, and you're on its field, and you look up, and just like the senior partner at the law firm with the beach homes and the accolades and the success, and inducted into the Hall of Fame, and if you've received all its accolades and awards and identified with that Ute, you've gone towards what it wants you to go down, and identify with your straw man of legal fiction of all caps, first name, all caps, last name, and you look up on the scoreboard and you say, look, I'm winning. You know what I'm going to do? I'm winning. I've won. Look at the score. But you're on its field. You've played its game. You've won its game. But see, it's when you play its game and you win, you a loser. You a like 3 strikes in California. You a loser. I mean, it's that simple. You played its game your whole life. Not you, of course, but you've identified, or somebody you could say, you've identified with that Ute, that the 2 Utes that it wants you to be. And you've attached to it. You've probably made contract with it. This is why I go back and forth with, people that will come to me. A few people come to me and say, once you truly realize who you are and the powerful nature of yourself, there's no consequence. There's no consequence here at all. I'm still at the point where I think there is consequence to making certain decisions, or going towards that Ute, to identifying with it and saying, that's who I am. I think there is consequence. And the main reason I've always put forth that there is consequence to this reality, and I know we have to be careful. Matt, if you say there's consequence and you believe it, you will take that into death. I know we have to be careful there in terms of manifest intention and all that, but we'll talk about that later. It's just because they work so hard. One of the greatest reveals in all of reality, I've talked about many times over the years, is how hard they work. They work so hard to get all the rats to go in this direction, and then they put the cheese up and the rats go, and all the population goes in this. They work so hard. And why are they working so hard if there's no consequence? Now, the only potential answer there, if I'm presenting the side of the people that say there is no consequence to anything, they would even say, many of these people would say, even to taking the action or renting the Action Jackson movie, once you realize the true powerful nature of who you are, there's no that's what they say. I don't believe. I think there is consequence in actions and choice, and getting closer to this Ute and ignoring the Ute that makes ties with spiritual self and connections to higher self, or things that aren't here in the snow globe, like consciousness. I think most of science still would say consciousness is generated in the brain, which is absolutely ridiculous to me. It's just a way to interface. Was it like Interface, the series, a way to interface with this place, the brain, where consciousness probably, or an aspect of it, is somewhere else. But which Ute are you going to get closer to? And they work so hard to get you to identify with this one. That leads me to believe there is consequence. And what I was saying is, if I was taking the position, the counter position, the people that I share emails with, they probably would say, well, they work hard, Matt, to get you into a certain state, to get you to believe certain things, to get you to covet certain things, and put certain things to the forefront, and get you to forget who you really are. They work so hard because it's a loosh farm, and they're harnessing your energy. You're putting out negative frequencies into the ether, like stress, anxiety, and worry, and something feeds from that. And that's why they work so hard, Matt. They need one sustenance from it, and they also potentially need you and other real people to create this reality, to mold it the way that they want. So of course they're going to work hard, and that there's merit to that, but I don't think it explains all of it as to why they work so hard for people to completely not to forget who they really are, or that other Ute that's ignored. Most people, they don't even think to even go there. We at least see there's a struggle between 2 doors, like a cheap ass game show, door number 1 and door number 2. Most people, the guy down the cul-de-sac in the Aunt Jenny, they don't even see that there's another door or another option. Well, life is what it is. you do your best. If you can take the awards and accolades it can give you, like a Nobel Prize or a, local Kiwanis Club Hall of Fame, you take it. And there is no other option. You just do. They don't even see the other options. That's what's, so why is it through its minions, working so hard to get you to make certain choices? If it just doesn't matter, the choices here in life don't matter. I'm gonna, and even if I didn't believe that, I'm gonna err on that side, because what am I gonna do different? I'm gonna err on that side for two reasons. One is, if the consequence to be wrong, I'd rather err on the side that there could be consequence, because what if you're wrong? Are you really giving pieces of yourself away? There's huge consequences if you're wrong. But what was the other reason to take? Oh, the other reason to take that side is because what am I going to do differently? I'm not going to live my life any differently. In other words, if somebody would email me and say, there is no, once you understand the powerful immortal nature of who you are, and that this is just a stop along the way, there's no consequence. And we'll go back and forth relating to, say, the renting of the Jacksonation movie. And I would say that, well, I'm not going to live my life any differently. What am I going to, if I come onto your team and I come across and say, yeah, I'm with you now, there's no consequence. They can't take any real piece of me. My higher self is in control. Like, I can't give pieces of myself away. What am I going to do? Am I just going to go run wild, have party up and down South Street, do reckless illegal drugs, get into all these different situations? I'm not going to do anything differently anyway. I want to live my life in a certain way. I know I'm a recluse, and people are like, come out and do this, Matt, and I don't do a damn thing. But it's not going to change anything anyway. I don't know. That didn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. How long have I been talking? Sometimes you just, some things come out right, sometimes they don't. So the main part, the main theme here, guys, is not just the two Youts is something we've, which one do you identify with, but more importantly for this video is it wants to be taken seriously at every turn. And I'm just, none of us should do it anymore. And it's a joke, and we should treat it as such. And I would think treating it as such is getting rid of attachments. It's completely goes hand in hand with attachment if you are taking it so seriously. People that have come forth with certain videos, and I can understand why they're upset. These are good people. I know these are people that are the best of people, and they can get extremely upset at the complete loss of liberty. The world is devolving at a speed and pace we didn't think was possible. It's beyond our wildest imagination that even they could take these bites, as big bites, off as quickly as they have. People devolving into a state we don't even recognize them, and they get angry. And we are in this avatar. We have limitations, of course. We're all going to make mistakes. We're fallible. But do you understand the anger is an attachment to this place. It almost facilitates or creates attachment, or at least it implies attachment. What is the scene from Tommy Boy pops into my mind, where he's trying to get is he trying to get chicken wings? Yeah, he's trying to get chicken wings from Helen. I think her name was Helen, the waitress. And she's like, we turn the fryer off. And he's working on his sales pitch. He's trying to sell, he's out there on the road with David, whatever, Spade, trying to sell brake pads. And he gives her a little sales pitch. And he's like, you know what I mean, Helen? She's like, I think we can turn the fryer back on. And he's like, Tommy, how did you give her that? You were all relaxed. And he's like, I didn't care. He's like, I didn't care. He's like, if I didn't get the chicken wings, I know we got the Meat Lovers pizza in the trunk. He's like, I didn't care. There's no consequence, So, if you back related to the reality, Matt, that was a Tommy Boy truth drop about the nature of reality itself. No, I'm not going to go there. I usually go too far. I'm not going to quite go there. I'm not going to relate the turn the fryer back on in the meat lover's pizza to a reality truth shop. I'm not going to go quite there. I'm capable of it. But it's like, if it's just you back up far enough from this incarnation or whatever it is, and you look down on it farther, look down at it from thousands of miles, tens of this little tiny snow globe. Oh, he just implied that the shape is round. Oh, he's a shell. Whatever. Oh, look down at it from 10 to 100,000 miles and see the level plane with the dome. What? Use whatever example you'd like, but you see it as it's still the same joke. Like a little aspect of me or something is related to me. Some things I don't know. I'm in there. I'm trying to learn some lessons. I got a mind wipe, but it's like. It's a joke. Look at this. It's like looking down from an airplane. How many times have people looked down from an airplane? This little town, you pass over some deserted part of West Texas or something, and there's this town, and you see the roads kind of come together and the railroad line. There's really nothing else around for miles and miles. And you're like, it's a joke. The little town down there, but these people have stresses, and one guy there just lost his job down at the corner store, and there's stress over here, and everybody down there thinks everything's so important, but look, I'm looking down on it. It's a whole different perspective. It's the same way with this. So if you truly see it as a joke, as a little tiny train stop, then how could anything be that important? The whole reality is designed so we give it merit and make it so important. If you saw it for what it is, you wouldn't be upset even at what's going on now. If you truly could back up far enough and you had a sense as to who you really are, and obviously this goes along that there's no atheists here, that it's a one and done. Of course, that's why they push their atheism, the one and done. If it's a one and done, then everything is so important. Oh, you're going to take my rights away, or I can't go into this store without a face covering or whatever. Then it's all important if it's a one and done. That's why they push that. I mean, if it's a train stop that's a half of a millisecond, I've given this example before. The train stop is going to be a half of a millisecond. And the train conductor says, we don't mean to inconvenience you, but we're going to have to do this and that during the train stop. It's like, well, the train stop isn't even 1 second. Short of them putting some sort of enema up my butt, I don't care what they do during the stop. It's not even 1 second. Well, if you see it like that, it doesn't even matter what they're doing now to us, if you can back up and look at it the right way. Oh, I knew Matt's not willing to fight for our freedoms. And you understand what I'm saying or not? I love what's going on out the window. People will put more words in my mouth, but I can't, Matt, every time a troll's going to try to put words in your mouth, don't feel the need to defend it. I hear you. You're right. But it's just so if I come forth with a video and I get so angry and these people need to go to jail and let's march Hillary Clinton off and revitalize the Q folks and send them all to jail and the sealed indictments and I scream and rant and that's getting closer to it. It's attaching to it. It's what it wants. If you, again, anything you put so much importance to, you get closer to. Tommy Boy, he says, well, I don't get the wings. I get the meat lover's pizza in the oven. This one a guy in high school, he spends his whole years and years setting up the perfect moment to ask out this girl and or substitute anything you want in this new society. It doesn't, I don't mean to offend anybody. It doesn't have to be. This is a guy, but it doesn't have to be a girl. It can be whatever you want. But it's all leading up to this, and his whole prom is based on this, and my whole reputation because I've told all these people that I'm eventually going to date her. It's all coming. It's so important. His whole being is resting on it. Where it's like some other high school kid like, I don't have no prom date, whatever. Just go down there and ask Mary Sue, whatever. I don't know. And he doesn't care about her. He doesn't care about these stupid, keeping up with the Joneses of his high school. And if Mary Sue says no, he don't give a crap. He's just going to go around the corner and ask Peggy Sue. He don't give a shit. He's not attached to it. He's not rooting to it. He's not making it part of his he just doesn't care. And I'm not saying that's not good either, to completely not care. If we don't care about anything, Matt, why should we help the little old woman across the street that needs help? You understand what I'm saying. That's because helping the little old woman across the street that needs help ultimately it's helping yourself. It's helping yourself. it's that's a tool that reality affords to actually benefit. You're benefiting her, but you're benefiting yourself as well in your journey here. So the anger, even regarding to what's going on now, I'm going to, you can, if you want to get all pissed up in it and think that's hurting it, go ahead. It's crystal clear. That's exactly what it would want you to do. And then the anger goes out into the ether, and something's feeding from that. You want to feed it? Feed it. Go right ahead. I don't like it, but what are my options? My only option, the way I see it, is to laugh at it, to take power away from it, to make it into a comedy, to make it into a joke, to remove its power, to cut its strings, to cut its legs out whenever I can. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if I see a few 100,000 people taking to the streets in London, do I like that? Yeah, I like that. If it's done in the right way. I'm not saying to sit around and be complete, pacifist. Like Terrence Mann's about to beat Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams. He's like, "You can't hit me. You're a pacifist." He's like, "Damn it, I am." And he throws the baseball bat down. I'm not talking about that. I don't know if Kevin Costner breaks into your house, he says there's a gun in his pocket. He probably deserves to be beaten. It's okay, but he didn't. Terrence Mann didn't run him down on the street and get in the back of his van and beat him like Buffalo Bill, asking that girl to help him, the senator's daughter, to help him move that big couch into the back of his van. Kevin Costner invaded his place. So I'm not saying sometimes there is a time to push back, or to punch back, but we should never lead with that. That's what it would want for the most part. And what if there's another option? What's the opposite of anger? Making fun of it, bringing characters forth like Jessup, Thanos, and Kid Charlemagne, and trying to make if people don't laugh at that, laugh at me, because we need a laugh. But based on, you're gonna do all this based on a Gary Newman video. Well, I'm trying to do it now. I'm just saying this really broke me this morning. I didn't expect that. I just was like, one more bit of symbolism. I know in this case it probably was planned. In some cases it is mockery. But if you've been looking at this stuff for 10 years or more, and you have thousands of examples of the symbolism, of the eye, of the handshakes, of the predictive programming, of just with the 7-Eleven job application event by itself, there's hundreds and hundreds of predictive programming. You've seen enough where it's not secret societies just doing everything and running around. Somehow this reality itself sees to this stuff through its minions. It uses its minions. Most of the minions, the more I reflect on it, the more I don't even think they even understand how they're being used. Even a guy like Melvin P. I bet he doesn't have a full understanding, in my opinion, as to how whatever the screen is or stands behind the screen is using him. He understands he was probably put into that position a long, long time ago to make a lot of money, to be a champion for technology, and the billions flowed, and now his role continues because these guys can never get out of it. Once it starts, it can never stop. That's why Mick Jagger can never get off stage. Maybe, again, if he can't walk, it would be kind of ridiculous for them to, him to say, "Start me up," and they wheel him out, start up his electric wheelchair, and it'll never stop. I mean, then that's a little ridiculous. At some point, they say, well, we want these guys to go forever, but Warren Buffett, never can get out. We want these guys to go forever, but if it's supposed to be a big business meeting with Warren Buffett and the Japanese prime minister, and he's just like on the desk, like he can't even sit up, then it becomes, at some point, I guess they have to put him out for the pasture just because they can't stand up anymore. But until that time, they can't get out. It's proven over and over and over again. They don't. Does anybody have one example for the comments where somebody top of their game in terms of music or fame or movie stars or big moguls in business just be like, I've done enough, maybe Jack Welch isn't a great example. We're just talking about a CEO here of GE, and even then he's on CNBC. He's writing books. See, it's still not out. It's still, maybe he went to, no, I don't, he's a creep. He's an absolute creep. But somebody else might have tried to exit the dragon's wing, under the dragon's wing, and, these guards pop. I didn't realize there were guards here. And, oh yeah, there's guards here. You were trying to leave on the dragon's wing? Yeah, I've done enough. No, you don't understand. Nobody leaves. It's a roach motel. Go in, you don't go out. There's not even an appearance of going out. They'll bring back, I don't even know how many of these guys are alive or dead. Is Pete Townsend going to tour with Roger Daltrey? And these guys just keep coming around and around and around in their 70s. Glenn Fry didn't seem that old for the Eagles. He seemed like a pretty down-to-earth guy who didn't want to get that close to under the dragon's wing. And this is not working out with the handheld mic with Zara. Zara, you're going to have to get down, sweetie. You have to get down. Go ahead. Down. Ooh, nails. Claws. Glenn Fry, he wasn't that old, was he? But is he, I don't know how he died. Some of them aren't dead. I mean, there's no question about it. Some of them aren't dead. And somebody watching this going, this guy was making a lot of sense. Now he's going to go into this. He's going to ruin everything we just watched with this ridiculous ending about a lot of the stars aren't dead. Look, I'm sorry. I'm not going to change my viewpoints up. I've observed how they do business for a long time, and there's the way these David Bowie comes to mind. I don't believe he's dead. Some of them might be ritualistically sacrificed, or but I don't believe all of them are. Some just go off to a place on the map that doesn't exist on your map, but exists on their map. And it's hard to say who, hard to say who, but do I, obviously these deaths aren't natural. That Prince didn't die in an elevator. And I mean, it's littered with symbolism, but the only thing to really question is, did he die or did he not? And anybody screaming this video, Matt, you went from a video trying to get us out of this crap to sliding right back into it. And exactly. Look how that just happened. Just slid. In the end of the day, Matt, does it matter? You have Whitney Houston in the bathtub, the daughter in the bathtub. Does it matter? No. Good. I'm glad I heard the person crying out in the night to me, because what did I just stream of consciousness just slid right back into it. That's what it wants. That's exactly what it wants. Just two Youts. Which one's you? Which one's the real you? What does it do? What does it act? How does it act? What is it connected with? And then destroy the other one. Simply make it so the other Yout, or what the society would ultimately want you to become, destroy it. So you don't even have a vision of it anymore. And it is important to I know my friend Rick does this with his name. I think Pink Elephant has mentioned doing this. It starts with the little things. Remember, your name, Matt, is a straw man. I mean, it's not ridiculous to come up with a name for yourself. We've talked about this. I've talked about this in the past a few times as well. Like maybe a truth drop in the Dead Poets Society. He's like, what was his name? I don't know, Roger Smith. That Nuwanda, he said, the kid that was always getting in trouble and always pushing. See, that's the guy that was pushing against authority. And, truth drops in that movie. Truth drops in everything. Without, in many cases, the director or producer even being aware of it. He says, don't call me by my name, Roger. I don't know what his name was. He's call me Nuwanda. And they're like, Nuwanda? Well, I assure you, whatever, as stupid as that was, that's the kid that came out of the bathroom and he's like, it was a lightning bolt in red. He said, this is a ancient symbol of virility. He was always pushing back on authority. He's like, don't call me Nuwanda. And everybody thought it was ridiculous. But you know what? If you're not, come up with a name for yourself and picture a person that's not not attached in any way to this system. Then walk into it. Become that person. And I don't have a name for myself. And I should, Rick has done it. Others have done it. I need to do it. It's just an absolute basic. It's an absolute basic of thinking, of walking away from the Ute that it has created, that starts with the birth certificate, the all caps name, the straw man. And if we could do one little thing every day to separate, doesn't mean going living in a cardboard box, but if we could just do one little thing each day to separate. And if you're not sure, strategically or tactically what to do, then you could say, I'm going to find something today to laugh at, just to, what is Nora O'Donnell presented, and not this headline, just instead of being fearful or instead of being angry at it, find a way. It might take months to truly find a way to completely laugh at it, and that's a separation from it as well. Thanks for listening, guys. Oh, free voice. Today's Friday, probably Sunday, but it could be tomorrow night. It just, if I can get it done, I'll be over at Free Voice like we've been doing on the weekends. And of course, if anything happens to this channel, there won't be BitChute, or I'm not, all of these are all in my, and Rob agrees, part of the system. The numbers of how they make money don't add up. They're all pens. Yes, we can talk freely, but it is a pen inside of a pen. It's not just Odyssey and these other platforms, library. They're, maybe one might be legitimate, but most of them are not legitimate. They don't have the numbers to even stay in business. They're just little tiny pens where we can talk amongst ourselves, where they can more closely monitor probably what we're saying, and it is still of the system. So the thing Rob's trying to do with Free Voice is, if he's loading to a certain platform, and when you watch a video or a podcast, you don't, if you go, it's freevoice.io, you don't even know where it's being, you see the video, but you don't know who's hosting it. And Rob's like, this is the only model that makes sense, because if we have a problem, or they come forth and say, you're talking about this issue which we don't like, then we'll just find another platform. And ultimately, if we really get screwed enough and we have enough people, then I don't know how to do a server farm. We get 5 or 6 servers or whatever, and we try to do it ourselves, where there's limitations there. You could only have probably maybe a few hundred people watching a video at any one time before you lose your bandwidth issues. But if that's the way it has to go to have free speech, but that it'll take a while to get there. So guys, thanks for watching. If anything happens to this channel, there won't be any BitChute account. It'll be 100% freevoice.io. Thanks.